nothing stops him. We are in a military area in Sätemoen. We don't actually know where the truck is. Här är den.
Finally, Frank and Kevin get a look at the truck. To do this, they need a lot of wire.
Får inte säga att det börjar bli lite. Telefon ringer. Jag ska gå och dra ut, bara stå i ro. Vi bara drar ut först och så går vi.
Annoyingly, Kevin's on a personal call, so Frank has to pull out the wire himself.
My arms are not good. When we dragged the wire out, we took it a little bit too much.
The wire has detached from the drum. It won't retract. Without the tension of a functional winch, the rescue is impossible.
So we had to fix it. Major.
Frank and Kevin must fix the broken winch fast, since no functional wire means no rescue.
I'm trying to hold my good mood.
The guys have to fix the drum to get the job done, but the wire won't rotate without being attached. Frank suggests using more muscle, even at the risk of further damage. And with manually forcing the wire the first 4 turns, the problem is solved.
We managed to do that on the spot, so it was okay.
Magic finger use, you know. No, it's okay. No, we can pull.
Finally, they can start pulling.
In worst case scenario, the wire could break, the trees could break, the straps could break.
If something happens, just get down. Kevin, gå lite längre upp. Nej, inte där. Andra väg.
Frank is not taking any chances.
Yeah, he cares very much about safety. I think he's the guy that cares most.
Pulling the truck sideways puts a lot of strain on the winch and the wire. Since Frank is standing far away from the action, Kevin has to be his eyes and ears in the middle.
To stand up there and see how it goes, if the truck moves and stuff like that. He had to do the winching, you know, and
Och är det krafter i sväng? Är det inga bevägelser på bild? Ser du något?
It seems to be okay, we're talking. I give it some more power, give it more power.
Ja, då har det bra press, Egen.
it was almost like the truck loosened up, so I told him he could use a little bit more power.
Vi prövar lite.
And I give it a little bit too much power.
Aj.
The main tow wire has snapped.
I don't know what happened. It could be one strap went against some stones or something. I don't know what's under the snow. This is the first time in my career. Oof.
They're going to try again, this time using heavy chains.
This hold.
Eager to get home, even the truck driver chips in. The chain can hold more weight and, in theory, won't break.
We got one line going from the car, the towing car, and up to a tree line and down into the front of the car. So we're going to try to pull the car a little bit forward. And at the same time as we take the car forward, we're going to try to pull the back end of the car in at the same time. So it will go like that in there on the road.
Now they're back on and ready for a second try. They're trying to pull the truck sideways back on the road. It's getting late. This plan has to work.
Something broke again.
This time, the chain snapped.
Så där uppe låg det stroppa igen.
Det är aldrig guldkettingen. Det är fullt där.
I didn't think that it was possible that the chain should snap off like that. It's a big chain and we have used it a lot. So that was shocking.
Actually, it's impossible, but I did it.
After Frank and Kevin's second failure, it's time for a different approach. The idea now is to try and use the truck's own power and weight to advantage.
You have just a little bit more to go in the front. So the car tries to drive himself and I just help him.
First, they put chains on the wheels to optimize traction. Then they straighten the truck out. It's like getting out of a very tight parking space. But there is a new problem. There's no room to turn the truck around to face the right direction.
The plan is to hook off everything, move the rescue car, and then we are going to back the truck slowly down the hill.
The guys pack up and head down. It's time for the truck to back all the way down the hill on its own. Not an easy bit of driving. It's extremely slippery, but by taking it very slowly, it's, at last, successful.
Then I'm good to go home. The day at work is over. Thank you and goodbye.
The truck and driver are back on the road, and the crew can finally return home. It's been a long, hard day, including 2 highly dangerous breakdowns.
You can break a arm, a foot, or something like that. Or you can get killed. So I'm just glad it went well and we can go home safe to the wife and kids.
Frank and Kevin survived that rescue, but every day brings a new challenge to Norway's rescue crews. Joe Roger is rushing to get his rig ready to roll, and emergency calls come in, and it's his biggest rescue operation in months. Joe Rogers barely had time to prep, but he doesn't care. He's hungry for action.
This is what we all have been waiting for.
A concrete truck at maximum payload has tumbled down a steep ravine. The 40-ton heavyweight has flipped onto its roof. The truck met an oncoming car on a blind turn and was forced wide. The roadside snow crumbled under the huge truck. It flipped and slid deep into a ditch. Incredibly, the drivers walked away without a scratch.
It happened very slowly, very slow motion.
The local fire departments are on the scene and already in action.
Kan det behövs att förslå lysarna slik at hovedstraffbryteren?
It's a rescue that's a race against time. The truck is fully loaded with liquid concrete, cement that's setting harder by the minute. Within hours, it'll be rock solid, impossible to move, and destroying the truck.
We are going to use welding to open the drum, and we're going to use water on it. We need a lot of water to get the concrete to get out of the tank.
Joe Rogers gonna burn open a hole in the tank, then flush out the cement. This will salvage the mixer, saving the concrete company tens of thousands of euros.
On the rescue mission like this, I am organizing every other units that we need for this mission. Så mokka. Prøv også å ordne oss i renn over her, så der det. Vi skal. Jeg kan, hvis du tek her. Ja. Ja, det blir litt arbeid for henne opp, ja. If I make a hole in the top and the bottom, I hope to use water to flush out the concrete out of the drum.
The blowtorch starts blasting through the tank at 3,500 degrees. Joe Rogers staking everything on slicing the truck open to salvage it. It's an all-or-nothing move. He might be already too late to shift the concrete, or the cut could release a torrential flood of wet cement, with him in the firing line. Despite the risks, Joe Roger is confident he's doing the right thing by cutting a hole in the cement truck. Now, the crucial moment. Will the cement actually start to flow? It's not happening. The cement is set harder than they expected, and it's not flowing out.
Nei, vi må begynne å spille. You have to be 2-3 steps further than you are always. That's the only thing you have to be sure of.
Joe Rogers' next step, use fire hoses to blast the cement from the tank.
There is always something can go wrong. We have a very time pressure on this one because of the concrete. Men du har ganske bra trykk, har du ikke? Bra sett på, trykk på.
The plan is working. High pressure water floods into the tank, and liquid concrete begins to pour out. But suddenly, the flow stops. The cement is setting, even though Joe Roger is blasting high-pressure water into the tank. But Joe Roger's rescue brain is always hoping for the best, planning for the worst.
I don't know how many holes I have to do. We have to do holes till we have the concrete out.
Desperately, Joe Roger cuts another hole at the top to get at the stubborn bulk of cement stuck at the back.
Begynner å spille nedi her, så håper jeg at vi får det.
But it's not working. Water's flooding out, but no cement.
The situation is bad because the concrete is getting hard and we have problems with getting it out of the drum.
Time's running out. With every second that passes, the concrete sets harder. If they can't speed up, the truck will be destroyed. Trying to blast the cement out hasn't worked. So now, the concrete will have to be dug out by hand.
The next step now is muscle power.
We have a man inside and he is taking out the concrete with a spade.
Shifting 7 tons of cement is tough work.
It's a very good exercise.
Together, the fireman and Joe Roger make a formidable rescue force.
For me, it's very important that they are here because then I can concentrating on the rescue.
With the fireman shoveling out the tank, Joe Roger gets ready for the next stage of his plan, disconnecting the truck's drive shaft.
I'm going to take the drive shaft off the truck so we don't damage the gearbox when you're going to tow it from here.
Joe Roger uses a wrench to loosen the bolts, but they're stuck, covered in thread-locking safety fluid. It stops them from shearing off while on the road.
some glue on the nuts and I have to heat it. Not a good solution, but there is a solution.
Blasting the thread-locking fluid with intense heat should loosen the bolts and allow him to use his wrench. Sometimes the old-fashioned ways are best. Bash the wrench with an axe.
Someone has lost my hammer. This is not a good solution, that either, but you have to do it.
The wrench flies off, lost deep in the engine bay. Without it, unhooking the drive shaft is impossible.
Du kan ikke ta her og se inn i rammene bortover her. Om du finner en 21-nøkkel. Helvete, kan ikke bare forsvinne i jævelskapet. Hæ, fant du den? The 21 key, I did lose it, but we did find it. I did have someone else look for it, and there it was. In the end, I finally got the drive shaft off, and now I continue with the next step.
Finally, the drive shaft is disconnected and fastened with a strap. The firemen finish shoveling out the concrete of the tank, and the truck is now 7 tons lighter.
We did get out about 50% of the concrete. That's around 3.5-4 cubic with concrete. And we are now waiting for the crane.
Now the next step of Joe Rogers' improvised plan can take place. He's brought in the big guns, a heavy-duty crane and crew to tip the truck and lift it onto the road. But there's a problem.
We have to possibly take the wire for the road lights.
The enormous crane Joe Rogers ordered will take 3 hours to crawl over 160 kilometers through the tiny mountain roads. At thousands of euros an hour, it's an extreme option. And now all this mechanical might could be completely useless. High voltage power lines are slap bang in the middle of the lifting zone. They could count out the crane before it even arrives. Now, Joe Roger needs the power company to play their part in his rescue too.
Vi har fått inn noen som kan klippe der vajeren i ledningen.
One day, smooth fall can be self-sustained.